Herr Donisi,
Mr.
Sie
Donisi,
hatten als
you
Kind
had a
im
near-death
Alter von
experience at the age of
7
7.
Jahren eine
How did this happen,
Nahtoderfahrung.
and what did you
Wie ist es
experience in
dazu
this
gekommen
situation?
und was haben Sie damals erlebt?
Ja, das ist richtig. Wir waren mit 7 Jahren,
Yes, that's right.
gingen wir nach
When I
Italien.
was 7 years old, we went on vacation to southern Italy, where my parents are from. Of course, I was happy because I had no school for 5 weeks, and we started the long journey to southern Italy.
Dann haben wir die lange Reise
2 days later, we went to the beach. At some point, I went into the water. I was able to swim because I had learned it when I was young.
an den Strand.
I did not go deep into the water and stayed close to the shore, but suddenly, my foot got stuck in the sand hole and I could not get it out. I also could not keep my head above the water. So I moved around rashly, waving my arms in the hope that someone would notice me. At first, nobody saw me. I remember it, just like it was yesterday. I ran out of strength and swallowed a lot of water. I got weaker and weaker, and suddenly I was underwater. Then I saw a light. It was a very bright and warm light. I didn't know what it was, but it was very pleasant and I felt very comfortable. It felt like an eternity. Then, someone came towards me. At first, I didn't know who it was. I went into the light with him. I don't know how long this was, but afterward, I was told I was dead for almost 7 minutes before being resuscitated. What I experienced there was very beautiful and special. I was accompanied by a special man into this light. I had a few special, beautiful moments. Suddenly, the light was gone and I came back into my body.
Beim Ertrinken,
When you were drowning, can you remember leaving your body? Did you feel that, or did you see the local area from above? Or were you just suddenly in the light? I felt myself leaving my body. I felt it consciously, and then I was in that light. It was like the sun. It was like a journey in a nirvana, in a way. Later, in the hospital, when I talked with my father about that experience, it turned out that this person that came towards me in the light was my grandfather. Before this incident, I did not know anything about my grandfather, so I did not recognize him as my grandfather during the experience. He passed away in World War II, way before I was born. I could remember exactly how he appeared to me in that light, and after the drowning, I told my father about it in the intensive care unit. I described to my father how this man appeared. Then, intuitively, I asked him if this man could have been his father, but my father freaked out. He said no one should make fun of the dead, but I was able to describe the appearance of my grandfather perfectly. He was all in white. He had a walking stick with a ball grip in his hand, and he wore a white top hat. Then, intuitively again, I asked my father if his father was dressed like that in his coffin. My father was so shocked that he almost collapsed, because he knew that I definitely could not have known that. My grandfather was killed in the war. At that time, my parents weren't even planning to have children. It was difficult for me as a 7-year-old to talk with my father about that experience. After that situation in the ICU, he avoided me for 2 weeks. As soon as he saw me, he dodged me. He just greeted me, put me to bed in the evening, and kissed me. Nothing else. After a good 2 weeks, he calmed down, and I thought it was nice that I could talk to him about this event. He was able to accept it, but until today, and he is 82 now, as soon as someone in the family dies, he thinks of me and gets scared again, in case of a situation where I would, once again, have some encounter with deceased people. This has always been the same over the years when someone died. I have seldom told anyone about this. First, I also did not tell anyone about it in school, but there they noticed that I was completely withdrawing interest due to this experience. My teacher noticed and talked with my parents. They told the teacher about it, and then the teacher shared it with my classmates. Once people at school knew about the experience, they avoided me for some time, and they even called me a devil. Nobody wanted to have anything to do with me for some time. Maybe they were scared of me.
Zu Ihrem Großvater. Haben Sie vor diesem Erlebnis Fotos
Did
von
you
ihm
see any
gesehen?
pictures of your grandfather before this happened? No, I never saw pictures of him. He died in the war, and the family lost many of their belongings. Even my father did not have a picture of him. But there are some of my grandmother who was still alive when I was born, so I knew her. But nobody had a picture of my grandfather, not even my grandmother, and I didn't know him at all.
Und während dem Erlebnis war Ihnen noch nicht bewusst,
And
dass der
during the
Großvater
experience,
ist. Es wurde
did
Ihnen
you
erst
really have no
später
idea who this person in the light was? No, only afterward. During that experience, I had no idea who this friendly person that picked me up was, until I talked with my father about it. When I talked with him, I somehow had this idea that it could have been his father, so I asked him. Due to my detailed description, my assumption has been confirmed, but unfortunately, my father reacted frightened. It is unbelievable that all the details of this experience are crystal clear to me to this day, as if it just happened yesterday.
Können Sie sich auch an die Rückkehr in den Körper erinnern?
Can you also remember going back into the body? Yes, I noticed that I was going back from the light into the body, then suddenly opening my eyes. I knew I drowned, that I was dead, or almost dead, but I remember the whole thing as something very easy and beautiful.
Sie sagten, Sie wurden reanimiert. Wer hat diese Reanimation durchgeführt und
You
wer
said
hat
you were
Ihnen gesagt,
resuscitated.
dass sie 6 bis 7
Who did
Minuten
this, and
gedauert hat?
who told you that it took 6 or 7 minutes? My uncle pulled me out of the water. Back then there were lifeguards at the beaches, like at Baywatch. 2 of those resuscitated me. Later in the hospital, it was said that, according to the report, I had been clinically dead for 6.5 minutes.
Sind Sie von der Familie her religiös irgendwie aufgewachsen oder konfessionell?
Did you grow up religious in any way? Yes, we were Catholic. But when I was 14, my father took me and my brother out of the church. I'm a believer, but the church does not make sense to me.
Ich bin zwar heute, ja, gläubig, kann ich schon sagen, aber ich kann mit der Kirche nichts anfangen.
Und Ihre Mutter, wie ist sie damit umgegangen, mit diesem Erlebnis? Konnte sie es
And how did your mother deal with this experience? Was she able to accept it? My mother accepted it well. She comforted me a lot and took me in her arms, which my father never did. She often stayed with me in bed late into the evening to comfort me. She thought I was scared, which I wasn't. But I enjoyed her affection because it was not so natural to be hugged and protected so much.
Wie haben Menschen sonst darauf reagiert?
How did other people react to it? For example, the priest didn't believe one single word of what I told them about this near-death experience. I don't know why. The religion lessons were often very bad for me, because they attacked me, including the priest. Then I stopped going to religion class. But later, at some point, the students took it better. First, they avoided me, maybe out of fear or respect. But 1.5 years later, the spook was over and I was able to overcome the whole thing well.
1,5 Klasse später war eigentlich der Spuk vorbei.
Und so im Nachhinein betrachtet, würden Sie sagen, es war gut.
In retrospect, are you happy about this experience, or would you prefer not to have experienced it? I am glad about it. It sounds harsh, but, and I told my family that, I would have loved to stay there, in fact forever. But the time wasn't right for me, because I still have things to do here on Earth. That's why I came back. I'm quite sure of that. Would you say that, due to this near-death experience, you have a longing for death? Definitive. Definitely yes. When I think back to what I experienced back then, I have to say that it was a very cool thing. It still affects my life today. What I am today, what I can do today. Helping other people as a death and grief companion has very much to do with that experience. It was like a present. Even today, it enriches every single day of my life. I am always delighted when I get orders and can accompany people into heaven. This is my calling.
Das ist für mich meine Berufung.